Cool. Let's do it. Ready, go.
You usually start.
I know, so that's why you should start. You're probably thinking the same thing I am.
Am I? Well, we'll see.
I can't wait
If I
to
say it
find out.
first, I get dibs. Okay.
Let's find out.
Every tear, in every mistake, every fear, we will not forget what you brought us through.
I was 16 and I saw a very cute boy playing guitar, singing John Mayer. Caught my attention. We became friends very quickly on the 12-hour bus ride.
But not right away. You know, she had to break up with her boyfriend first.
Get what you brought us through.
We knew we wanted to get married and we were like, well, let's get married when we're 19 and 20.
What better reason to get married than we can afford it? So let's do this.
Going into marriage thinking, okay, you know, I grew up in a solid, like, nuclear family. I know what marriage looks like.
Marriage is really easy. And the people who struggle with
we
it,
figured it out.
I kind of judge them a little bit.
When we're out in public with people, I'm like, they don't know you yet.
She's fun to bring with me though, because I get to play it just super dry. I mean, she'll like give me a laugh so that people know I'm joking.
Right.
We work well together. I'm Chris, and
I'm Steph.
My wife, Stephanie, and we are Out of the Dust, and we are stewards of a story of redemption.
We were so busy. We were in school. We were working. Then I was in school for education. So then I had student teaching, then graduated and was teaching elementary school. And that's just, I mean, I was exhausted by like 8 o'clock every night. So we just, I don't know, we were more like roommates, I think.
And without intentionality, you know, we drift. There's no such thing as sitting still. Mm-hmm. So through that, I went through a deconstruction before that was even really a thing. Without community, without a place to process that, I was just alone. And so that isolation led me to a deep doubt, and no one knew. Going to school for the music industry, I found more solace with this crowd of folks who kind of had the same questions I did. I didn't see that in the church. I would be out Saturday night with friends, partying, and then wake up and lead worship to a God I didn't believe in. I didn't understand quite what that was doing to me, to our marriage, and that isolation brought me to this point where I started to hear this thought in my mind that I would be happier if I wasn't married. I said to her, I don't believe in God anymore, and I don't want to be married anymore. And then I filed papers. Divorce was finalized after just a couple of months.
To say that that was unexpected is a huge understatement, because I had no idea.
I'm great at hiding and performing. That's my personality.
So good at the hiding that I would have never believed what was coming. From the outside, I might look like the innocent one, the victim in all of it. But I was not a safe place for you to come to. I didn't make it easy for him to want to open up, to feel like he was coming to somebody who wouldn't bring any judgment. What was happening that night did not fit in with my life that I had so carefully curated, right? Like this life that should never have the word divorce in it. Even just looking back at like my childhood and being a perfectionist and feeling like things have to be a certain way, I think it's because, you know, doing the right thing, making the right decisions, it somehow gave me some control. And so finding security in control, it was easier to find that if I knew where my life was headed.
I had left all of this life that we had built together on this premise that wasn't really me. I wanted to be who I really was. I wanted to be the real me, and I needed freedom to do that. And this lie that I believed was that I had to do that alone.
want to tell the story of a God who does transform our lives inside and out in every aspect that you let him.
And that it comes in the unlikeliest of places. That it happens when you least expect it. My dad left when I was 2, and he died of lung cancer when I was 12. And I actually had his old AA books. But before Stephanie left, she left a Bible.
Yeah, I was packing up in the house we bought, and I came across a Bible. And I was like, I don't recognize this. And I opened it, and it was to you, and there was a letter from your dad.
And I knew his story. And he said, well, he called me Christopher, number one, which is just powerful to me. Everybody calls me Chris, but my mom always called me Christopher, and he called me Christopher. And he said, there will come a day in your life when you'll question everything that you've ever known. And on that day, remember that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And because I had elevated my faith to this intellectual realm, because I was so in love with science and facts and figures and wanting to prove that God was real, I had mistakenly put him into this box where I needed an intellectual argument to convince me. And experience showed me his love, not to know it, but to have it. Through that transformation, I started to hear this whisper again. I truly believed, and I still believe, it was the clearest message that I'd ever gotten from God. And what once was a whisper telling me to leave from the enemy now was this whisper turned into a yell that was telling me to pursue my ex-wife.
And I took a lot longer, for sure. And that year was so necessary for me. Like in those darkest times, in that suffering, in those trials, that's where God was able to get through all the pride, all the self-righteousness that I had built up. So Chris did end up reaching out to me. We hadn't talked in months, way past the divorce. And I saw that night, I saw the answer to hundreds, if not thousands of prayers, just right there in my face. As I'm talking to him, as I'm seeing this vulnerability, this just this transparency that I had never experienced. I saw a new creation, and trust takes time, and it should take time. And so we didn't jump right back in, regardless of how you felt, you wanted it to go.
I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm so impractical. So I was just like, we should get married again.
Like now, I think.
Yes.
Right.
I'm ready. We were not ready.
No, we and you were on board, but we took a few months and ended up all in agreement with our counselor too, that if we wanted to pursue this again, that we should go for it. So November of 2010, we went on our second first date. 3 months later, in February of 2011, we got remarried in a tiny little ceremony, just our family, and now here we are, remarried with 2 kids. I never wanted to be in front of people speaking, definitely not singing in front of people.
But we told our story from stage.
Which we weren't supposed to do.
Yes. At the finals, we told our story at this Christian music competition. After everything had happened, it led to a woman coming up. She was crying, and she was going through the same thing. So to see that immediate feedback made us step back and say, hey, wait. Everybody can help someone else through telling their story. People who do follow us, we want them to feel empowered through their story.
We know and we read messages every single day from people who may never see this ending. It's painful, and that's hard to think about, the fact that you may not get the ending that you desperately are hoping for. And we are always going to be the first to say that God is big enough to handle whatever we're walking through, We won't waste the suffering and the trials.
We tend to be a magnet for people in their dark nights of the soul. And I think most people think my story is too broken, I am too broken, or not enough has happened in my story for it to matter. And what we believe is that Scripture combats that, because in Revelation it says that the enemy will be overcome through the blood of the Lamb and by the word of our testimony. The parts of your story that you don't want anyone to see, that you think are too ugly, that you think are too broken, God can and will use that to help other people if you are honest and open and can trust that process. You can trust that your brokenness is actually something that can be used to heal, not to cause further destruction.
We do feel burdened to tell this story because we know the hope that it can bring, not because of who we are, but because of the God that we love. And so if there is ever a way in the songs we write, in the social media posts we type up, if there is any sort of way that we can influence, that we can show people hope, we're gonna do it. As long as we have breath.